At this point, I'm going to recognize Mr. Phillips. No, Mr. Phillips, are you here? Yes.
Thank you,
Mr. Phillips is here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. I lost my father in the Vietnam War when I was 6 months old in 1969. 54 years later, just last week, I was able to visit that country on the other side of the globe and actually go to the very dirt on which he took his last breaths. And you can all imagine it was one of the most extraordinary, meaningful experiences of my entire life. And I returned to Washington last night and attended an event sponsored by TAPS that honors Gold Star families, and to look at small children, American children, in the eyes who've lost loved ones in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I want to honor you, Mr. Mast, who gave so much of yourself in that effort. It's an awfully difficult thing to do. And all of us, every Gold Star family, child, brother, sister, mother, father, spends a lot of time wondering if it was worth it, if the loss of life was worth it. And I just want to thank you for being so dedicated, both personally and professionally, to doing your best to ensure that the community of Gold Star families does not expand. And I would simply ask that my colleagues on this committee, both Democrats and Republicans, as we litigate the past and hopefully learn from our mistakes, because damn it, we sure make a lot of them, that we spend equal time and energy to ensure that one day children who've lost their moms and dads in Iraq and Afghanistan and other parts of the world can also return to a country that is seeing economic growth and prosperity and safety and security, in no small part because of our investments. And to that end, Mr. Secretary, I want to speak with you about flexibility that you need to take advantage of opportunities and windows when they arise. The Middle East and North Africa Opportunity Fund, which is proposed in the new budget, would allow you to respond to opportunities as they might emerge in that region of the world. So I'm just curious how you envision using such a program, how those decisions would be made between state and USAID, and how you would prioritize that funding.
This funding in particular, these kinds of programs in general, and the flexibilities that go along with them allow us to take advantage of opportunities that come up to use our democracy and development programs to further peace, to further security, to try to create virtuous cycles. I think perhaps it was the chairman before who referenced the Abraham Accords. Sure. We have been working assiduously both to help deep-root the existing partnerships that have come from those accords, as well as to expand the circle. And part of that has been something that we put together last year that is called the Negev Forum, that brought together Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Bahrain, Egypt, and that in so doing is focused on concrete projects among those countries to include the Palestinians that can effectively improve the lives of their citizens. So some of the funding that we have or are asking for would be to go to support those kinds of programs. We put together another program that actually brings, interestingly, Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and India together. It's not the Middle East per se, but it draws it in. But across the board, we are looking at programs and flexibilities that allow us to address the needs, the livelihoods, the security, the opportunity for people, because when you provide that, you take away one of the usual instigators for conflict, for instability, for things that inevitably, one way or another, draw us in and cause us to spend a lot more money in so doing.
Okay. Well, I have high hopes for that, and I hope
thank you.
I hope we can achieve it. My second question is relative to special immigrant visas, SIVs, in Afghanistan. I don't think I'm the only one on this committee or in this entire Congress who's receiving an extraordinary number of calls to our offices from people who are trying their best to fulfill our promise to those who supported our efforts in Afghanistan and are deeply dismayed and troubled by the challenge and the backlog in obtaining those SIVs. So what is State doing to affect that? Do you need more resources? Is there anything we can do? Because it is a great challenge for all of us, and I think we are missing an important opportunity to fulfill a promise.
We're determined to do everything possible to get this right, and we've dedicated the resources, the focus to it, to make sure that we're doing that. We have well over 100 people at the department whose sole focus is this program, as well as helping others, Afghans at risk, get out of Afghanistan. We have, at present, a process that you know very well, that members of this committee know very well, that is pursuant to legislation over many years with a dozen or so requirements in terms of moving people through the SIV process.
Okay.
And we've worked with Congress to streamline that, to try to make it work more effectively. We have at present a large number of people in the pipeline. Most of the people in the pipeline are at what we call the pre-chief of mission stage of this, or at the chief of mission stage. That's the point at which it's determined whether, in fact, they have met the requirements of the program. Typically, when you have people in the pipeline, we found historically that, unfortunately, about half of them wash out, which is to say, it turns out they're not eligible. Sometimes that's because they are genuinely not. In other instances, people are trying to get in through that program. One of the big problems.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Documentation.
Thank
We can come back to
Mr.
this.
Phillips for his words.
Thank you for prioritizing.
The chair